Hello, how are you? Thank you for coming today and enjoying lunch with us and doing some networking. And now we're going to have a short presentation. We won't labour, we will move fairly quickly through a series of presenters who will talk to you about Electrify Wolli Creek. And we're really excited here today to be launching this report. It's a soft launch today. We'll be doing a hard launch to media on Monday. So you're getting an exclusive sneak peek. I'm Heidi Lee Douglas. I'm the Chief Executive of Solar Citizens, and we're joined today by members of the board, including Genevieve Kelly, the chair over there, Rick Brazzali and Stephen Pfeiffer, who are here somewhere. Thank you. We've just had our AGM today as well, so we're being particularly efficient. And I wanted to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on whose lands we meet today. Their sovereignty has never been ceded. So, I've introduced myself and I want to tell you a little bit about Solar Citizens. So Solar Citizens has been going for over 10 years. We're a community advocacy group, we're non-partisan, and we advocate for renewable energy and clean transport. So I've been the CEO now for just over 2 and a bit years, and really my main focus with the organisation has been removing barriers to access to renewable energy and clean transport for more Australians. So how did this project come about and what is it? I was very fortunate to meet Justine Lawson over here, who is a resident of Wolli Creek, and she was introduced to me by a mutual colleague because Justine was trying to set up a way to electrify the Wolli Creek precinct. And this came at a synchronous time. I'd just been to Canberra lobbying and met with the Council of Capital City Lord Mayors, who had been saying how difficult it was to do high-rise electrification. So we knew that this was an issue for many Australians, around 30% who live in apartments and are locked out. Fact check me there, Joel, did I get that right? 30%? 1 in 10 Australians. Sorry, 1 in 10. I'm thinking about rentals. There, thank you. So we knew it was a big issue and we thought, this is a local community that we can help to unpack the problems and find out the opportunities for electrification. And particularly, this is around retrofitting. And what we've discovered is also what we need to do for new buildings as well. So I won't give all the content of the report straight up, but I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Wolli Creek in particular. So it's one of the most densely populated suburbs in New South Wales, where 98% of the population lives in an apartment. 2/3 are renting, which is double the national average. It is also a cultural and linguistically diverse community, with 77% born overseas, more than double the national average, and a large Chinese population of 36% of residents. So many of these households in Wolli Creek are currently locked out of renewable energy and clean transport, and we need to ensure they are brought along in the clean energy transition. So I'm now going to introduce our 3 speakers. Firstly, we have Carolyn Wenzel, who's part of the local community in Wolli Creek and has been working with us. So come and sit up here, Carolyn. We'll give further introductions. We have Mamoon from Equity Solar. And we have Charlie Roderick from Solar Citizens, who's been leading the Electrify Wolli Creek project. So we'll start with Carolyn. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and the project?
Sure. Hi. Professionally, I'm a communications consultant, and I did spend 10 years of my life working in communications for Greenpeace. So before moving to Wolli Creek, my husband and I were living in our own home in a suburb in the inner west, and we had put solar panels on our roof because we wanted to be part of moving to 100% clean energy. And we, very aware and very motivated about everything that needs to happen for all of us to reduce our energy footprint and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and how amazing it is that as we've been following this, that there's all these cost savings by doing it as well. So it's like a win-win, a no-brainer. And we moved for various reasons. We had to move, and we bought off the plan a brand new spanking, you've seen pictures of it here, high-rise apartment And it just looks beautiful. And we naively thought that because it was a brand new build, that we would be able to continue our electrification journey, and it would be pretty straightforward, and we were planning to buy an electric car. And we move into the building and we discover, oops, it's on gas. We've got gas cooking as well as gas hot water heating. And there wasn't any infrastructure for electric vehicle charging. And we joined our strata committee because we thought, well, just be part of the solution. And we put motions forward to investigate EV charging access, and everybody on the strata committee was really keen to look into it. And then we were shocked to discover that there were a lot of barriers. It was going to cost an enormous amount of money. And then there's not enough electricity capacity allowed to the building to actually accommodate giving access to everybody, all the 300 car parking spaces. So we have to readjust our thinking and try and just make it available to one or two people, and then how do you decide how to make that fair? So we've parked the electric vehicle for the moment, and we've got 13 towers in our precinct, and other people are starting to investigate it as well. And there's going to be a lot of demand, because who wants to buy into a building where you can't access electric vehicle charging except for some pods on the street or go to IKEA, So there's that. Then there's the access to solar power. Some buildings, I've been discovering through this project that there are some buildings that are able to do that. But when you're in a tall high-rise, you've got limited roof space. We're still investigating what our options are in regards to that, and Mamoon's going to tell you more about that. And I did mention the gas issue. It's complicated if you're in a high-rise and your hot water system is gas. You've got a massive room, utility room where it all happens. I haven't seen it yet, but I think my husband has, and it's pretty impressive. And quite complex and costly to switch that over to heat pumps. It's not just the same as in a normal home. So these are things that we're continuing to investigate, and it's why it's really important to be able to have support, because strata committees don't have the information, and very few of us have the technical expertise to understand everything about our energy usage and what's required. We don't understand the regulations. You can get good advice from your strata managers, but they have to be the kind of managers that care about this stuff and find out about it. So the thing that we're grateful for about Solar Citizens getting behind us, I think we're really, really lucky that this circumstance happened, because they've really flushed out these barriers, but also the report is full of solutions. And it's going to take combined efforts at all levels of government to make sure that the 500,000 people who live in high-rise buildings in our capital cities don't get left behind and don't continue to be guzzlers of fossil fuels. So I'll hand over to Mamoon, or do you want to introduce me? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. So now I'm going to introduce Mamoon, who's one of the interesting stakeholders that we've met along the way, who's helped to propose some possible solutions to some of the complexities of getting renewable energy to these high-rise sites. Mamoon, can you start by telling us more about yourself and Equity Solar and what you're proposing for Wolli Creek?
Sure. Thanks, Heidi. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mamoon Reza, and I'm the founder of Equity Solar, a social enterprise committed to finding renewable energy solutions for apartments and people who are renting. I'm going to use my notes because I think we've got about 3 to 4 minutes. I want to make sure I don't want to miss anything important. So I guess many of us here already know that Australia is a world leader when it comes to rooftop solar. A lesser advertised fact is that there is great inequity when it comes to solar for people amongst us who are renting or living in apartments. So they're essentially locked in to paying more for their electricity and supporting legacy fossil fuel generators for years to come. And I think that's the important problem to solve. So at Equity Solar, we believe that everyone deserves clean and affordable energy. And difficult problems should not be left in the too hard basket. I'm a problem solver and I like finding solutions. And I was delighted when Solar Citizens invited me to propose a solution for Carolyn's building to install a rooftop solar. But we soon discovered the main issues. The number one problem was lack of roof space, and number two was the high cost of installation. So lack of the roof space meant that we could only look at providing solution for the common area and not for the individual apartments. And the high installation cost due to a complex installation environment and also long cable runs meant that the cost was, the payback time would be stretching past the lifespan of the equipment, which is a problem. So for low and high-rise buildings, on-site solar is definitely the way to go. But like Carolyn outlined, some of the issues for high-rise buildings are very unique. And we need to find innovative, we need to be creative to find innovative solutions for these. So one idea that I'm particularly personally invested in and personally passionate about is the concept of urban solar gardens. So there are many buildings, especially warehouses and commercial buildings that have huge roof space that are totally unutilized. What about putting solar and batteries on those buildings so that it can be accessed by people who are renting or living in apartments? So this can be done by a third-party developer coming in and putting up the capital to put up the initial infrastructure and then entering into a power purchase agreement with a retailer to sell this electricity back to people who are living in apartments at a fair price. And I think the fair price is important because Carolyn will probably attest to this. I think you already subscribe to renewable energy and you pay more than everyone else, which doesn't seem fair.
It's not right.
Right. Another way to do this is via peer-to-peer trading, which is gaining popularity in Australia. And that's essentially a household which has too much solar selling their excess to someone who can't install solar. And they can privately agree to what price they're paying. So these are really good options. But there are also other options like vertical solar and glass that can be installed in windows in apartments that can generate electricity. So these are all great ideas. And wouldn't it be wonderful, Carolyn, if we could try out some of these options at Wolli Creek?
The experiment, the guinea pig. But I think a lot of some of these ideas also need to be built into new buildings.
Yes, but I think we need lots of support to make it happen. I think we need social proof, we need public support, we need private equity, which is where I come in. But most importantly and urgently, I think we need good policy from government, and we need the government funding to act as a catalyzer.
Thank you, Mamoon. So I'm going to introduce Charlie Roderick, who is our New South Wales Clean Energy campaigner for Solar Citizens. And she's been doing the nuts and bolts, hard work in terms of unpacking the problems and finding the solutions in terms of policies for the New South Wales government to make these recommendations, which we're outlining in detail in the report. And Charlie's also been working closely with the community and with Mamoon and with lots of different stakeholders who are specialists in these technical spaces like what block, as well to unpack technical solutions. So I'll pass over to Charlie.
Thanks, Heidi. So I think it's been a year working on this project. We've encountered, as Carolyn mentioned, lots of sort of challenges and barriers along the way. And being able to identify what those barriers are and what the most important things to sort of solve has been a real important part of the project. So it's actually just taking stock of where are we at right now and where do we need to go in the future. And then bringing on stakeholders like Mamoon has been really helpful in terms of looking at what the solutions or potential solutions are that we can explore. And they're all sort of outlined in the lovely 55-page report, which you can all read as of next Monday. I'm not sure any of you will read all of it, but gold star if you do. So yeah, I think one of the main takeaways I think from this project has just been that we might have the solutions for sort of low, mid-rise apartment blocks. That doesn't mean that we have the solutions for high-rise. Things like Illume Sol Share technology means you can install a shared solar system on, say, a 16-block apartment or 16-unit apartment. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily available for people who live in high-rise. And as Carolyn mentioned, there's green power, there's getting a renewable electricity plan, but it is more expensive. And what we really want to identify or highlight is that people living in high-rise or people living in strata or other apartments shouldn't be paying more. They shouldn't be locked out of these cost-saving benefits of solar. It just isn't right. So, yeah, I think every apartment is different. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We need to really work with apartment buildings and work with strata committees to sort of identify the solutions that are going to work for them. And to do that, we do need additional government support. Obviously, acknowledging that the government, federal government and state have taken some really great steps towards implementing policies and programs. There's things like we've got the New South Wales Consumer Energy Strategy that just came out a few months ago, and that's a really great step in the right direction. We just sort of need to nut out what those additional policies are that we need. So I won't go into all of them. There's about 22 in the report, so I won't bore you all, but I'll just kind of give a few of the top line policies that we're proposing. I'm going to read just so I get the words right. I don't want to be recommending something that we haven't got in the report. So the first one is that we want to review the existing strata policies around renewable energy upgrades and work out how we can remove those barriers. Things like the New South Wales, there's the new 50% vote for strata buildings, and that's been really, really beneficial. We want to make sure that all jurisdictions are able to access beneficial strata policies. Secondly, we want to request free mandatory energy assessments, and that's for people living in strata buildings. And within that, we're asking for independent consultations from energy assessors, and that's acknowledging that no apartment building is the same, and we need an individual assessment for each building. We're asking for nationally consistent home energy ratings, so things like the neighbours and the NatHERS, making sure that it's all consistent across the board, and also asking for minimum energy efficiency standards with specific standards for apartments and strata, and also that's applying to renters as well. We have the federal government's community solar bank scheme, which has been really successful so far. We really want it to be expanded to include funding for batteries, not just solar, and those batteries to be installed in apartments. And within that, we'd like to put forward some ambitious targets for solar and battery uptake. We're also asking for funding to install EV chargers in existing apartment buildings, as well as policies to ensure that new apartment buildings are EV ready. And finally, we're asking for new apartments to be built without a gas connection to avoid the risk of sunk assets. So what's the next steps of this project? Over the coming months, we'll be meeting with sort of stakeholders at the federal, the state and the local government level, really advocating for these policies and using this nice shiny report as a really good sort of advocacy tool to represent what a real community in Wolli Creek, in one of the most densely populated suburbs in Australia, has been through and what they're going through in terms of their electrification journey, and using those real world case studies as an advocacy tool. So yeah, that's going to be us for the next 6 months, years, and we're going to keep going until we get some of these policies across the line.
Well done, Charlie. So I think the other thing that's been really exciting for us as an organisation is that since we started this project, the state government has introduced their push for the transport-oriented developments. So they are pushing for more high-rise densification around train stations throughout the greater Sydney area. And unfortunately, that push does not include clean energy as part of these developments. So part of what this report does is shows how complicated it is to retrofit high-rise and why we need to get it right now in all new builds. So that will be a big focus for our ongoing advocacy. We've just seen a report come out yesterday which shows the responses to the transport-oriented development that some councils made and Solar Citizens made a submission. They didn't actually do a public submission process, unfortunately, but we did manage to put a submission through. And unfortunately, clean energy was not recognised as one of the things that they need to revise in terms of these transport-oriented developments. And we've also seen resistance from the New South Wales state government around banning gas as well. So there's some really time-critical things we need to do for new builds, as well as continue to find the ways to unlock electrification and clean energy for retrofitting the existing apartments. Isn't it great to be in a room full of people who care about these issues and want to share with each other the solutions? That's why we held the event today, because in a way this is an interim report, because it allows us to reflect on the work done so far, where we think we want to go, but also to continue to grow our brain's trust to make sure that we are looking at all possible solutions. So we really encourage you to meet with us. We'll be hanging around, eating with you for the next 20 minutes. We want to meet you. We want to hear what you've got to say. We want to have a follow-up meeting. That's what we do as Solar Citizens, is we network, we bring together people who are solutions-focused, who want to overcome these big issues for our community Australia-wide, but also internationally as well. So thank you all for coming. I will say one other thing. We're also an organisation that's philanthropic. We run on tax-deductible donations, and we need your support financially as well as through your great ideas and brains. So if anybody would like to donate to us, you can go to our website. There's a big yellow button on the right-hand side at the top that says donate, and you can make a tax-deductible donation to us anytime. So thank you so much for coming. We are also based here in the greenhouse. We work a hybrid work week, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, the Greater Sydney team are here, and we welcome you to come and meet with us here. It's a lovely space. This is a great initiative by the City of Sydney to provide a clean energy hub with minimal rents for organisations like ours, so that we can afford to work and network with all the great people in this building. So come in and see us anytime. I'm Heidi, Charlie's over here. We've got Joel up the back in the Solar Citizens t-shirt. There's John over there, our operations manager, and Philippa, who's our Queensland Clean Energy campaigner, who's come down to be with us for some planning as well, who's also a specialist in the built environment. So we look forward to meeting with you and talking more soon. Thank you.